Hi, Philip. Hi, whoever. Here we are again with Philip talking
Hi.
about love and family life, huh?
Love and family life. That's right. We're
Love
back.
and
This is the
love
Veterans
and
Day edition of
family
Love and
life.
Family Life.
There it is. Love and family life.
Yes, and you'll be happy to know I don't have any long, drawn-out intro into this one this week, Swami J.
Wow,
We
you mean
just
we're just gonna dive in?
we just dive. You got something of words of
I
wisdom
don't
or
have
something.
anything. It's just thank you for coming and telling us all about family life and love and sadhana and yoga all mixed together in a nice, beautiful cocktail.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
just made that up, calling it a
That's
family cocktail.
that's amazing. That's why they pay you the big bucks.
Yeah, uh-huh. Okay, well, all right, I'm going to take that out of there, and I'm going to put this in. And with a little luck, I've got this where we left off. We left off here with, there are several guidelines. Can you see that?
I see, let's see, there are several. I see the second principle is that I see page 35, the second. There we go. The several guidelines. I do see that, and I am ready.
Well,
Are you ready, Swami Jay?
this should show up sooner for you.
I appear to be having a little bit of a lag time on, there might be a slow connection.
Are you
Maybe on my
looking
part.
at our Be Live thing or are you looking at Facebook?
I'm looking at our Be Live thing.
And it's running slow?
Yes.
There,
So
do
do
you
bear
see,
with me, and I'll try to make
do you
sure.
see the text moving right now?
I can, yes.
Well, so it's quick.
All right, so we're good.
So we're good.
Technical
We're good.
difficulties out of the way. I feel like we're ready for a good session.
Yeah, okay, because when I'm scrolling this, it ought to happen for you immediately. The
Yeah,
delay is in going out to Facebook, which takes a few seconds.
yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I just noticed it when we were starting, but anyway. So let's jump into this, and if we have some technical difficulties, we'll address them.
There you
All
go.
right.
And if it ever freezes, just remember you just need to restart. You know, what do you call refresh?
Refresh. I
Yeah.
will. Okay. All right. There are several guidelines for establishing, and I'm hearing some background noise too. It just started. I don't know why that happens, but there are several guidelines
What
for
kind of
establishing.
background noise are you hearing?
I was hearing my voice coming through
Oh,
your computer.
echoing. I don't know why that's happening.
There are several guidelines for establishing a healthy marriage. Understanding of these principles can help people to create stronger, more loving marriages. Those who are already married can begin to apply them and learn them in their present circumstances. The first principle is that a marriage is strongest and most satisfying if a couple forms a shared commitment and purpose. At some point, a couple can sit down together and renew the commitment they made to each other. When we married, we did so with sincere intentions. Let us accomplish something important in life, creating a loving and sincere marriage by cooperating, participating fully, helping each other, and by admiring and appreciating each other. And Swami Jay, the question that comes to mind here when he talks about creating a shared commitment, I mean, does that commitment necessarily have to be, and we've been talking about love and family life being one of the means of getting back to self-realization, or as we've been looking at the circle chart, question mark, Atman, awakening, whatever you want to call it. Is that the commitment that he's talking about here?
Well, I think it depends on the couple. But if the two people are aiming in the same direction, then to me, yes, that's exactly what it means.
That's what
But
I was thinking.
I think, but and you know, I mean, who's going to be reading this book? People who are looking at this and are interested in what we're talking about already have some degree of that kind of alignment. So in that case, clearly that's what we're talking about. Somebody else might explore this conversation differently, seems to me.
They probably won't be reading that. Yeah. question is to be deliberate about it. Talk. Let's share. Okay. Thanks
So
for
you
answering.
sit down and you two sit down and have this conversation. Let's accomplish something important in life.
And not,
How do we help each other?
you know, a house, car.
Are you speaking and I'm not hearing, or are you just pausing speaking?
I think that's right.
I think your voice is not working. Hello, Ratan.
I'm having a time problem. Yeah, I think I'm having difficulties.
Yeah, something's not working right. Hit your Command R. Okay, well, Philip will be back momentarily. Here he comes. When something does that, there. Okay, 3, 2, 1. And there is Philip.
Hi, let's try that again. I'm back.
Yeah, so I've noticed that sometimes that happens, and all you have to do is when the sound goes back, just briefly refresh, and the turnaround time is very brief, you know, less than 10 seconds, and you're back fresh.
Okay. I will work on that. I still think that, well, I don't want to dive into all the technical problems, but I still see that there's a lag, so I don't know if that'll continue to happen.
I don't have a solution for it.
Yeah, me neither. Okay, we'll just do our best.
I mean, there's no lag when I'm speaking to you right now. You're responding to me.
Yeah,
now my video seems to be running behind a little bit too.
Yeah, that's what's going on here.
But the audio is working.
Okay, good. Well, then let's jump back into it. The second principle is that both partners should accept each other as equals. Married life can become a companionship without either partner feeling superior or inferior. A couple should marry and live together with a sense of equal status, rather than one partner treating the other as inferior. I often tell people that if they do not respect their partner as an equal, there is something wrong with their own attitude. The basis of a marriage is love and acceptance, and that exists between equals. So when he talks about that when the other part, when you don't respect your other partner, then it's not the other partner, it's something that's wrong with your attitude. I mean, this goes back, I think, the way that I hear this, Swami J, is that this is about the relationship you have with yourself. The reason you're basically actually projecting the internal relationship that you have with you and yourself to the other partner. And that if that lack of respect is there, it's not so much the partner, it's more about you than it is the partner. It's that lack of respect for you or that clouding of the mind.
It does seem to keep coming back to that person called me, doesn't it?
It does, yes. Me, Ma. Hi, Ma.
Hi, Matri.
Welcome. It does, but I think that's a really good point to make on this one. And this is often a lot of times that you don't find in some of these guidance. It really is about that, the unclouding of the mind and what we're doing over here. And that you really see, one of the ways you see it is in how you're projecting and relating to, especially your significant other, which is often one of the closest relationships that you have. Oh, that was an important point.
Yep.
In the first year of marriage, there's often a continual struggle for power between the partners as one tries to establish control over the other. And then one finally just gives up, and that's it. And that's how it goes for the rest of it.
And then you know that your wife is boss.
Then after the year, it takes about a year, and then your will is broken, and then you realize that I don't know what that. Both tell their friends.
Hi, Mir.
Hi, Mir. Welcome. Both tell their friends, he is my husband, he should listen to me, or she is my wife, she should do what I say. In this process, they consciously and unconsciously try to project their personalities onto each other. There we go again, projecting their personalities. In doing this, they're acting from insecurity and seeking to expand their egos, because up to this point, they have lived their whole lives seeking only to fulfill their own ego needs. If this continues, it will eventually become difficult for them to adjust to each other. If the husband has a friend, his wife may condemn his friend. If she has friends, he may likewise criticize her friends. Each person wants to impose his or her personality on the other person because both partners want to own or control someone. Neither wants to share the other and accept the other's independence. But I mean, those are really harsh words. I mean, that's a pretty bold statement.
Pretty strong, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does it sound accurate, though?
I do. It does. It
or
does.
Or you would want to say, no, I never do that.
No, you see it all the time in a relationship. Not only with your significant others, but you're always trying to, I shouldn't say you're always, but I do see that a lot. And
she's always trying to take control over you, right?
Well, and vice versa. I mean, there are ways that I always try to take control over her, and this is being aware of it and being able to stop, recognize when those types of things happen.
Yeah.
And either to not push, nor are you not pushed against this thing of do no harm.
Yeah, there you go. Ahimsa, do no harm.
And here it is right here, the ego playing out. There's the push and the pull, and being able to recognize when you're in that, when you're legitimately in that. To avoid this power struggle, it helps to develop a mutual understanding from the very beginning. We respect each other as equals. Let us try to appreciate and accept the other. Try to avoid relating to your partner by demanding, I don't like this or I don't like that. If this is how you relate to each other, there are bound to be continual quarrels.
Sounds pretty bleak.
What's that?
Sounds pretty bleak.
Well, yes, it does. It does. But I think he's trying to give you direction on how to get out of that, to break out of that cycle.
Seems so, yeah.
So hopefully there's hope and optimism there. But this is, I wonder, if people are listening and watch that, I'd love to see what their thoughts are and their reactions and their experience in daily life. While it is easy for us to correct each other and analyze another person's fault, what gets in the way of our own learning is our own egos. Now this is just where he goes off base. I mean, this is our own egos are the what gets in the way. It's the other person's ego that gets in my way of this, right? This is
good luck. I want to see you try to pull off that philosophy in your family life. It is
clearly, if everybody else would get their act together, then clearly my life would be much better, and they would see how amazing I am. That's how it works. That's exactly how this thing works. And this is where, for those listening at home, this is where Swami Rama just completely goes off. So off the tracks. But yeah.
Yeah. The hair. Ma says
you're not buying it. I can tell. I'm not convincing. Ma's already laughing at me, and I know that this is where we're going off. But yes, if everybody else just get their act together, I would be great. But here it is, Swami Rama, as always, putting it right here in your face and not mincing any words. It's your own ego that gets in the way.
It's always them.
It's always them. A man can learn from almost anyone but his wife, and a wife can often learn from anyone but her husband. For example, when I was in England many years ago, two great British actors came to ask for my blessing. They said, Swami, please give us your blessing. We are getting married next week. I said, I bless everybody, but I feel uneasy about your request. You don't seem to be the marrying types. Perhaps you're making a mistake. They had both signed checks and wanted to give them to me. They wanted to pay me $2,000 for my blessings. I said, I can surely spend this money for the good of others, but I don't want to give you a blessing merely because you are paying money. Sit down and let's talk first. Let me ask you, are you really getting married, or is this an arrangement? Is this a free or open marriage? After living in the West for a while, I had learned about such classifications. They replied, we are both free to live anywhere, do what we want, and sleep with anybody. I asked, then how is this marriage going to last? What is your commitment to each other? I don't need your money, and if you want to marry on such terms, I don't feel right about it. Please go to someone else who can bless you. My conscience does not allow me to do that. Why not? They asked. Because you don't have any understanding of what you're doing. What you call grace, the grace of God, is with you, provided that you understand what marriage means. But there can never be grace in a home in which there is no understanding. You should have an understanding and sense of purpose that supports the aspects of life. They got married 7 days later, and it was televised on the news throughout Europe because they were famous actors. But after a week, another news story was broadcast revealing that they had separated and decided to divorce after a violent argument. The cause of the argument, dum dum dum, was nothing but a conflict between their egos. They fought about this issue of how to correctly handle the toothpaste tube. This is a very important fight in a marriage life, and eventually they got divorced. This entire conflict was about their attempts to control each other. This really happened. They were very bright, young, talented, and healthy people. They were sexually compatible, but sexual compatibility alone cannot lead to a successful marriage. If sex is the only thing that a couple has in common, eventually a loss of interest or commitment will enter the marriage. That's a lot to say. Throughout the married life, the partners should increase their understanding and appreciation of each other. This is the theme that continues over and over in this chapter, increasing understanding and appreciation of others. It keeps coming back and back to this. This understanding involves both people in talking and communicating rather than arguing. When two people disagree, their disagreement may sometimes reach a height of emotion and they can begin to argue heatedly. Their emotionality overcomes their reasoning, and where there is no reason, there is a fight. Partners sometimes become angry and dissatisfied with each other, and yet continue to share the same bed. It is dangerous to live together in the same house with disagreements, suppressions, and repressions, which influence both partners' unconscious minds. If disagreements or misunderstandings damage the relationship, rebuild your commitment and sense of understanding again and again in life. Partners need to learn to be tolerant, kind, and loving to each other. Mutual understanding is based on acceptance, patience, and self-control. And I think he's contrasting that between suppression, misunderstanding, and lack of communication here.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions are very powerful. When people become angry and lose their temper, they no longer know when they are wrong. Both behave stubbornly and impulsively because they think they are right. During such arguments, it is helpful if one partner's role is to remain calm and not argue. If one person remains calm and tolerates the other's outburst for a few minutes, the other will usually say, "I'm sorry, I won't repeat that." Sometimes it is important to let your partner express his or her anger without overreacting. If each person can do this some of the time, there will be fewer ego battles. I think that's good advice, and I don't know, in the heat, maybe in the heat, I found it, in the moment, sometimes this is hard to live by. I was actually watching one of these YouTube videos the other day that was talking about conflict of the ego. It was a lesson about bullying, but really what he was talking about was that bullying is nothing but trying to exert control over the other ego, similar to what he's talking about here. And what he was suggesting is that whenever one's bullying, one's trying to get more control over the other. So it's the arguing that drives them down, and it's the reaction, the forceful reaction, the other one, that actually gives more power, feeds the ego of the other, and exerts more control. So the more you feed back to it, the more that person's going to exert the control, the dominance over. And the guidance that he was giving was similar to this. His guidance is just to remain calm and not let it affect you, to react more niceties in a nice way, or a very calm and distant way, so the control actually either comes back or is equal.
Sounds a little bit like vairagya, non-attachment.
Yes, that's exactly right. It does sound exactly like that. Seeing it for what it is when it plays out, and not coming and reacting to it or being attached to it. That's exactly what this sounds like. Were you going to say more?
No.
Making that point. Yeah. So again, another good guidance from Swami Rama here. I hadn't quite considered it. I did not. I know you've made that point purposefully, so I had not quite considered the viragya part of that. But that's exactly what the guy was saying, the non-attachment to it. And so you don't allow one to get control of the other. You either keep it at an equal playing field, or even the balance might be tipped slightly, so the other person has the opportunity to express their anger, but not.
Well, when you were moving your hands in this kind of way to demonstrate this, and there was one, and this one was the one down here, and you were describing the attitude of that person developing, of how that person is taking a stance in relation to not provoking the other one or something like that.
That's right.
That's just what came to my mind. Oh, this sounds a little bit like non-attachment.
It does, and I think that's a really good point. Obviously, a really good point to make in this.
Yeah.
The goal is to develop understanding and tolerance. The most important trait needed in a marital relationship is tolerance. Decide to be aware of your feelings and remain tolerant rather than arguing. No conclusion can ever be reached through arguments. Because we're talking about, it's not really an argument. This is about one ego trying to exert control over the other ego, not necessarily trying to seek clear communication or guidance. It's just a power struggle.
So the arguments don't lead to solutions, seems to be a takeaway from that suggestion.
That's right.
Once the argument starts, then there's going to be no solution forthcoming, is what it sounds like.
Which is a good way then in the awareness part to remind yourself about the viragya principle, that this isn't really going anywhere, and you engaging in it isn't useful. Allow the other one, have that sense of non-attachment, and allow the other person to vent. And without making a claim of how exactly to do this, I think there is a caution to make sure that cultivating non-attachment does not mean rolling over and playing dead and getting trampled on by another person. I think it doesn't mean that either. That's right. In this one, I think it's easier for people to understand. We talk about the ahimsa. I think ahimsa, principle of ahimsa, this non-harming. I think it's easy to visualize or understand not harming the other person, but how not to be harmed yourself and not rolling over on that is something that I know that I continue to try to increase my understanding. But that's a really this isn't a
practice. Huh? I guess that's a thing of practice, huh?
Practice. It's an important principle. And I'm glad you made that point. It isn't about rolling over. It's and bowing to the other's will. You can learn to appreciate one another by talking to each other and trying to understand each other. Even if you do not agree with your spouse, try to understand the other's view. It is not necessary to agree on every matter. All individuals have their own personal thoughts and emotions. Life would be dull if two people always agreed, but neither is it necessary to argue constantly. This is always a sign of egotism. Spouses can learn to talk things over. Each should try to understand and accept the other's viewpoint. If, for example, you don't like to go out to dinner, inform your spouse, "I'm sorry, I don't want to go." Explain your feelings to your partner. If you have a genuine reason you should not go, it is not necessary to quarrel. Home is the one place where people should be able to find and maintain peace.
What a concept. Peace at home.
Peace at home. I mean, if you don't have it here, where can you have it? I mean, where would you go if you don't? I mean, if you don't have peace at home, where do you go to find it?
Do what some people do. Come here and dump it out on me.
That's right. Or at least come there to dump it out on you so they can recharge and have more peace at home, I think.
There you go. That's how that works sometimes.
Package it up and send it to the ashram, and then you're okay.
This is what family therapists say they do sometimes. There's in family therapy, there's the phenomenon called triangulation. And where what can happen is the husband and wife are sitting there trying to work out their relationship. Therapist is trying to help the couple resolve their issue. And when it starts to get a little difficult, unconsciously the husband and wife team up and they both attack the therapist. So the projection goes onto the therapist. And it's sometimes a therapist will do that, as a way to get, at least attempt to get the husband and wife on the same team.
Yeah, yeah. They'll take one for the team is what you're saying.
Yeah, what's that old saying? Take one for the team. Take one for
That's
the team,
right.
I guess. Yeah.
One for the team.
Something like that.
So you sound like you have a lot of experience in this then.
I guess it's a little bit like marriage, huh?
Yeah, that's funny. When I meet a couple who smile sincerely, I always think God has graced them. They have created peace in their home. However, if that peaceful atmosphere is not already present in your home, you can still create it. Here's some hope here. Walls and objects do not radiate love and peace, but you can create and express those feelings and let them penetrate through thick walls. And keep doing it forever. And this way, a house can become a sweet home, a healthy center for living and mutual understanding. Men have often called women the weaker sex or the fair sex, but there is no such thing. Women are an entirely different sex. The wife's and husband's roles are different, yet they can help each other by sharing their joys and experiences. The wife's role cannot be fully played by the husband, no matter what modern men and women think. The man should never allow the woman to lose her heart, her sensitivity and empathy. And the woman should never allow the man to lose his head. I think figuratively and all of those things, yeah, that's right. They can create a perfect understanding between them so that they can come together exactly like the two ends of the piece of gold metal that form a ring. Women have a hidden power that man can never fully understand. Biologically, women can often tolerate more pain than men, and women are much more resistant to stress and many of the hardships. And I could say through my experience, I have found this to be absolutely true. No, that principle has never been more clear than if you are a man and you've watched your wife give birth to a kid, and never have I just said, man, am I glad to be lucky that I'm a guy in my whole life, because I don't think that I could have handled those types of things. But I do agree with this, and I've seen this play out in my experience. And that's not sucking up to women either. That's the truth.
Just a fact.
It's just a fact, yes.
No.
If you analyze medical data from all over the world, you will learn that only a small number of women have heart attacks. Biologically, women are shock absorbers. They often endure suffering in ways men cannot. If a man has a small fever or a headache, he starts to cry for help, but women can withstand much more discomfort and pain. A woman is a very powerful being. Unfortunately, women sometimes use their power to make men dependent, slowly and gradually. This is because woman is responsible for establishing and maintaining the institution of marriage. Throughout the ages, man has been irresponsible. It has always been the woman who has left the necessity to establish a home when she foresaw the coming of a baby. A woman doesn't want to experience childbearing alone. She wants someone to help her bring up the child. Because of this, her strength is sometimes diverted toward creating dependency. She makes a man dependent by looking after him so much that he begins to see his mother's image in her. Then after some time, she may feel that he is no longer a real man, that he has become passive or weak. This is one of the greatest drawbacks in modern marriage. These days, there is often a discontinuity and lack of compatibility between a man's sexual feelings and a woman's sexual feelings. I don't know. Are we entering into a different subject here? I felt like he was going to give a punchline for how to deal with that, or it seems like he's going into a different subject. I'm just curious about your thoughts on this dependency part here, Swami Jay, that is saying. I mean, he makes a bold statement in saying that women create more dependent men. But I'm not quite, and goes into a little bit of why, because she is the creator. It's women, it's the female energy that's the creator of this.
I don't know. My take on it is that it's a comment. It's a free-flowing narrative that he's giving, and if it caught your attention, that's enough, and then leaves it up to you to ponder about it.
Yeah.
I think we see this. I think we sometimes see this in relationships.
Yeah.
And there seems to be, I think it's too easy to make tremendously vast generalizations over women and men but I think there is some spirit to what he was saying there about maneuvering another person so that, in this sort of common dynamic where a man is taking on a role of being strong and aggressive, it leaves the woman trying to find another alternative way to gain some degree of control. I'm remembering a little story here I can tell that is something that I quite enjoyed. I knew a man who was a counselor. His actual job, he was the boss of a counseling clinic in a community college. And so he had a staff of counselors working for him. And I didn't know him well. He was more of an acquaintance than a friend. We were close acquaintance, and there was warmth in that. But I stopped by his house for some reason. I was doing something on like a Saturday afternoon. And he was out in front of the house mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
And he's turned off the lawnmower, and boy, was he happy to stand there in the yard and talk for a little bit. And it went for maybe 2 minutes, and he says, well, I better get back to my lawn mowing because she's looking out the kitchen window at me.
Oh, no.
And over a little time, he explained to me the whole situation. Now, this couple, this husband and wife, got married, they had 2 children, and along the way they got divorced. They just couldn't get along. They got divorced.
Right.
And they both remarried somebody else, and both of those marriages ended.
They got divorced.
The couple was together. They had 2 children. They ended up divorced.
Yep.
The husband went one direction, the wife went the other direction. The
Right.
husband went and got a new wife, the wife went and got a new husband.
Right.
So now there's 4 people involved in 2 completely different marriages. Both of those marriages failed.
I'm
now,
following.
the guy who was the head of the counselors, the counselor trained guy, started doing some self-inquiry and going through some self-development programs and changes himself, and he started to understand something more about the structure. He went through, doesn't matter what it was, but he went through one particular like weekend seminar sort of thing that really opened his eyes. Now, this couple had 2 children under them, so they still had to communicate because they were divorced and had 2 children.
Right.
So they still had to talk to each other. Hi, Jamie. They still had to talk. And so the husband, now they're divorced. The husband was going through this workshop sort of thing, and he said to his wife, look, I'm going through this thing, and I'm really gaining some tremendous insight from this. And he said, I think you would enjoy this. And it was something like he was appropriately saying, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but if you'd be curious to do this thing, I would even, as a gift to you, I would even pay the enrollment for you to go.
Right.
And she agreed and went through this thing, and it gave the 2 of them something to talk about. And what the 2 of them finally discovered is what went wrong with their marriage in the first place. They ended up getting remarried to each other, and they had an absolutely beautiful marriage going on. And what they figured out, here's a way of saying it, he's the boss of a bunch of counselors. What do counselors do all day long? Sit around talking to people.
Yes.
Her career job was as the office manager of a large law firm with a bunch of lawyers and a lot of activity, and she's the one that's keeping the whole office operating.
Right.
So she's very, very skilled at that. But when they got into the marriage, he's trying to take on the role, the socially expected role of being a good husband, and he's supposed to, discipline the children and run the household and pay the bills and do all this kind of stuff. And his wife was was supposed to be this nice, sweet, demure little woman, the
Right.
little woman and all that. And they were each one trying very, very hard to live out their roles. She was trying to be that kind of wife, and he
Right.
was trying to be this strong husband, boss of the family.
And it wasn't a fit. It wasn't a good
It
fit.
wasn't a fit. They finally figured out that they had it absolutely backwards. and that all he wants to do is hang out and talk. He doesn't want to organize anything and boss anything around. So, and she is highly skilled at managing things. So they renegotiated the marriage. And part of it was she is management and he's labor. And one of the deals that they made was they both had Monday to Friday jobs. So it meant they both had Saturday, Sunday weekends. They had that in common. And so the arrangement they agreed upon was she's the boss and he's labor. And the arrangement was he would work either Saturday or Sunday every week. You can, if you want me to work on Saturday, I get Sunday off. If you want me to work on Sunday, I get Saturday off.
Right.
And this was clarified to me the day I stopped by. He was mowing the lawn. It was a work day. And I knew, I got to know her somewhat too, and they had an absolutely beautiful, wonderful marriage. They got along very well, but they had their roles backwards. They were trying to live outside of their own skills. And once they talked about it and renegotiated the marriage agreement, it just worked fabulously. Delightful couple. And anyway, I think that story touches on what we were just looking at here about men and women seem to have roles. And so everybody, in some sense, this is me speaking, can be accidentally kind of pretending to be something. And hi, Jamie. Jamie is there with us now.
Yeah, so she makes a lot of comments. I agree, and that's a nice gratuitous plug, because I mean, one of the takeaways that I hear from that is that it was a principle they learned. It wasn't so much that they couldn't get along as that they didn't have clarity on some of these things, and that's one of the things that I hope from this conversation is that people get some sort of clarity and insight, because I think from this level,
this story triggered in my mind because you caught the thing that Swami Rama said about the subtle or quiet kind of way that sometimes a wife is trying to gain some control
over. That's right.
And so anyway, ready to go on?
Yeah, so it was a great story. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Hi, Jamie. I'm not going to, there's so many comments there. I'm not going to try to bring them all up. Everybody can see them. And so.
So we were these days there is off. So yeah, we'll switch from the dominance control to the sexuality over here. These days there is often a discontinuity and lack of compatibility between a man's sexual feelings and a woman's sexual feelings. The failure of men and women to understand the differences in each other's sexual emotions and inclinations remains one of the primary causes of their disagreements. Modern people sometimes do not understand that woman is sensitive and receptive by nature, and man is an active force. Women approach sex with love, consideration, tolerance, and a certain reserve. Men rapidly become sexually interested. They may rush to their wives and engage in sex abruptly without adequate preparation, and then leave or go to sleep. Sometimes a woman's feelings and interest only become active by the time the man is finished. Women talk about this problem with their friends and counselors. They want to feel affection and closeness before their sexual feelings become active. Throughout the world, this lack of understanding has been one of the largest obstacles and problems in marriage. It often continues for the entire married life because the man never really tries to understand the woman. A couple can produce many children, but this fact alone does not mean that they have a real intimacy or sexual understanding. People do not need to be sexually competent to produce children. To be able to satisfy the biological urges, men have to understand that woman has a different nature. She wants love, sensitivity, and preparation. To achieve this, a man needs to be calm, mature, and self-controlled. In some marriages, a woman never expresses how disappointed she feels, but if by chance she eventually does so, the man may overreact. He may then become depressed or even impotent. Sometimes a woman hurts or wounds a man by making him feel inadequate. If a woman continually speaks that way to her man, she will destroy him emotionally. How can men and women resolve this lack of understanding? And see, this is what I like. I like when he says, here's the punchline right here. How can you do this?
Here we go.
Here we go. All right.
Here's some
Because,
ideas.
I need that, Swami. I can't quite get the subtle hints. I need the big arrow pointing at it. So here we go. Each should learn about the biological realities of life and how to deal with them appropriately and skillfully. This can only be accomplished through self-awareness and self-regulation. The self-regulation means that a couple comes to an understanding about how they will manage food, sleep, sex, and other activities.
Self-regulation, huh? Comes back to that person called me.
What's that?
It comes back to that person called me.
It does. It always seems to, the ownership. I just for those who are joining now, I've been an advocate that it's the other person. But Swami is always trying to bring it back.
That's called spouse regulation, huh?
Yeah, it's the spouse. I've been an advocate, but Swami keeps bringing it back to this me thing, that it's all my fault, and then I have control and ability and responsibility.
Well, see, but that's the trap, Philip. Listen to what you just said. Your choice of words was, it's all my fault. Did you hear what your choice
I know.
Words?
I can't get away from it. You keep bringing it back to me every time.
But I know, but look at the coloring you put on it by the choice of words that says it's all my fault.
I know. I can't even get away from it.
Whine, 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 whine. Saying it's my fault is very different than saying I need to look at me, I think.
I see what you're saying. Yes, You're absolutely right.
Now you got the subtle point, huh?
Now I got the subtle point. Again, sometimes I need that opening sentence that says, here's the point that's trying to be made. So,
yeah.
Thank you for that. Yes, so it isn't my fault. It's that I need to increase in self-awareness. That's right.
But just to make sure you see it there.
Yeah, that's what we need. That would be a good graphic. So when I go past something, you're like, here's the actual point that's being made. I like that. We'll have to work on that one. This self-regulation means that a couple comes to an understanding about how they will manage food, sleep, sex, and other activities. A couple usually decides how to manage their schedule and activities. We will rise at a particular time, we will do our exercises, and we will eat dinner at a particular time. The experience of sex should be approached with a similar understanding. After initial honeymoon, a couple should learn to regulate and prepare for their sexual life. Sex should be done consciously and with a positive intent, rather than haphazardly or without preparation. The partners should agree on when they would like to reserve time to share and communicate in this way. There should be an agreeable understanding between spouses about how and when they want to be sexually active. After many years of studying and counseling couples from various countries on this subject, I have concluded the best way is for the couple to decide upon a time for sexual companionship. People are often confused about how the other person feels sexually or what he or she wants. Sometimes they are too shy or insecure to express their desires. Sometimes a man does not understand that a woman may be exhausted from caring for small children all day. Sometimes a woman does not know what the man wants to do and wonders whether he will want to have sexual relations. If a man is not considerate of his wife's feelings or pressures her to have sex when she is tired or emotionally unprepared, many problems are created. This is not helpful because fulfilling sexual interactions requires mental preparation even more than physical readiness. If a woman is mentally and emotionally unprepared for sex, she freezes. If a man is preoccupied, nervous, or worried, he also has difficulty performing the sexual act. Both partners should be free from preoccupations or distractions. To prepare themselves and to create the proper mental and emotional environment, it is best to decide upon a time. Then both partners can prepare and become emotionally and physically prepared at that time. Without such conscious preparation, that's a lot of prepared, a man often fails to satisfy the woman's needs. Many traditional cultures provide guidelines about how to prepare emotionally and physiologically for sex. Timing is considered to be very important. Couples should allow enough time to digest their food before they engage in sex. I assume it's like the going swimming rule, maybe 30 minutes or so, right? So you don't want to get a cramp afterwards, but I don't know. I'm just putting it.
I don't know the swimming rule, but...
Oh, he says an interval of about 4 hours between eating and sexual intimacy is helpful, especially if they've eaten a heavy meal. Or they should eat only food that is easy to digest. Many physical problems or difficulties occur when people eat food and then try to perform physically. Secondly, the partners should also be well rested. Such a powerful and important act should not be done abruptly, suddenly, or in a hurry, because it is hard on the nervous system. In the modern world, some people think they need to drink alcohol for inspiration or preparation, but that is not a healthy pattern. Those who think they need to drink alcohol to be sexually active often have conflicts about sexuality or emotional issues they should resolve. In my travels, I've met many salesmen on airplanes, and since I'm a Swami, they often talk candidly and reveal their secrets to me. Sometimes they talk about the subject of sexual relations, and I observed how they think and how they live. Some men confess that they have sex wherever they go, but that they actually only enjoy it with their wives. They feel this way because a sexual act is not a mere physical or emotional animal act. When done with the proper understanding, it can become a spiritual flame of love. Why shouldn't a man or woman indulge in sex with many partners? The reason this is so important is that sex is not merely a bodily function. Sexual feeling actually originates in the mind, and sexuality affects the mind first and foremost. Many competing images and impressions are created in the mind as sex is performed randomly and without discrimination or self-control. The more partners a person has had, the more a person becomes mentally restless and desirous of even more different experiences. But none of these experiences could ever be fully satisfying. Eventually, a time comes when that person becomes so distracted that he or she cannot enjoy the sex or remain faithful to one person. Such a disturbed condition can create a serious problem because the partner becomes unable to live fully and deeply with a partner. It is better to discipline and limit yourself to one person and learn to adjust your feelings, thoughts, and behavior so that the biological need may be satisfied and does not interfere with your life. Sexual fulfillment is a good thing, but sexuality alone is not the essence or purpose of life. There is something more important than sex. What does sexual interaction provide? The physical experience gives people pleasure, but this pleasure is not particularly long-lasting. An eternal and more powerful union can never be attained as long as one is preoccupied with pursuing joy through a physical union. There is a deeper and more profound level of experience that teaches couples what it means to be a woman or a man. When two people realize that they are more than bodies, then they can become one at a deeper and richer level. A couple can attain a state of wisdom and happiness to a physical union by realizing they are not united solely on this level and learn to become aware of each other's deeper existence. People do not exist because their bodies exist. People exist because their essential nature is existence. The body's life and well-being depend upon this deeper existence. Ultimately, if a couple becomes aware that the purpose of life lies beyond this level of physical pleasure or satisfaction, then their life together blooms like a flower. The flower of humanity will blossom forever on the day that couples truly understand this. If there is ever to be any wiser, any more evolved society, it will originate in the family and family life. This I love. He says this another way. If ever there's a revolution, the revolution will start in the family. This can be attained when men and women understand the deeper meaning of marriage and family. That was a lot. I mean, I felt like he said it. He said it best, and there was a lot of instruction there. But I thought the guidance was pretty clear. So I just didn't.
Yeah, it's some good stuff, and that really does it not? The end there seems to be sort of the bottom line of the world.
Yeah,
it has something to do with family life and the way if we can't get along with one another in our own homes, then how can we get along together in our institutions and in our world of communities and countries, etc.?
That's right. We learn it in the family life, and then we take it with us the rest of our journey and expand it. So, All right. Was that chapter two down or?
Yeah.
Wow, we're flying through this thing. That's fantastic.
No, we're not flying. We're going nicely, I think. Let's see here if I can.
Feels good.
What?
It feels good. I mean, I think it's going going nicely at a good pace.
Yeah. Let's see what the cliffhanger is.
What is the cliffhanger here?
Well, let's see if I can pull this up quickly here. I'll try to do this quickly here.
Sure.
Give me a moment. I'm not that quick.
For those that are waiting, I'll segue. We're giving you the cliffhanger for next week's show. Here.
Yes.
So you're anticipating and can't wait until following.
Here it will be here momentarily. Okay, I'm going to take this out. And here comes, get ready, Philip.
Watch it. Here's the graphics. There we go. That's why we put children. Oh no, we're talking about children next week. Oh man.
Oh my. You got a couple of them.
I do. Maybe I could talk with some experience here. Yes, I do have.
Maybe you can. I bet you probably will.
Yes, one of my children she is now she has a desire. She wants to perform. She's gotten into acting and theater and actually, her I guess her goal is to have her own Disney show. So we're actually, she has you're gonna love this one, Swami J. She has her first audition with an agent this afternoon that she's very excited about.
Wow, cool. She's gonna be a star, huh?
Yeah, we're gonna go sell her soul this afternoon. So maybe I'll be here next week. It depends on how much money I make in that time. If not, we'll see.
All righty. Well, but next week is all about children, and Philip will make sure that it happens there.
I'll make sure, and he'll help. He'll help.
That's the direction. That's the one. Philip will tell us all about children.
Yes. But thanks for playing.
Of course, maybe you should get Candy to be with you. Maybe Candy should come next week and tell us about children, huh?
Yeah. Well, she doesn't know much about it, so we'll see.
I see.
Every day of the week, but yeah.
Yeah. I just meant that. I was just teasing when I
could probably paraphrase for her. I think it'll be okay. I think I can.
Yeah, you'll do it. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It will be. You're living right in the middle of it, so. and fun part of it is you're willing to come out here and say this stuff in public view. Yeah. And expose yourself in this kind of way, going through this and commenting on it from your own life, and that's a pretty nice thing.
It's fun. I hope it's useful.
Thank you all for playing.
Thanks. You have lots of love and family life.
Lots of love and family life. Yes, it's a good thing. All righty. Bye all. Bye, Philip. Thank you.
Take care.
Don't hang up too quick, Philip. I'm going to end this. Okay, I'm going to push the end button. Ma, you don't have to give me a... And Mir says, thanks, Philip.
Thanks, Mir. Thanks for... Love that avatar. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's a tree and a person and...
Meditating, yeah.
Meditating in a beautiful sky and all. Okay, so bye-bye all. And in a couple hours, we'll be back to do another something. Okay? It will be enjoyable.
Not as enjoyable as this, but it'll be enjoyable.
No, how can I keep up with Philip? He's a tough act to follow.
That's right.
But on the way today works out, Philip comes first, and I'm coming after him.
That's funny.
And Ma put in little hearts, but they showed up as number 3.
Less than 3, less than 3, less than 3. Thanks, Ma.
Less than 3, less than 3.
I think you're less than 3 too.
Yeah. That's supposed to be little hearts. I don't know why that did like that. I think that's little hearts. Anyway, bye-bye. Thank you again, Philip.
Yeah, thanks, Swami.